High back cross stance. Keep the back straight. Sink down until the knee touches the back and presses against the calf. And the inside of the thigh is so tight that I can't get my fingers between the thighs. As I move on and my stance gets better and I'm able to hold this position well, the next one is to do a lower version. Step out to the high cross, drop down to the calf, and drop down even further. So the knee of the left scissors behind the right, and I'm sitting on top of the calf of the left leg. Ball of the foot is up and toes are turned out with the right. I stand straight up, step out to straddle, cross back to high stance, sit down to a middle stance, sit down to a lower stance with the right leg tucked underneath the left calf and the legs are squeezed together, sitting on top of the right heel. I raise from the crown of the head straight up and step out. Now I'm ready to take a look at this from twisting from the horse. I drop down to a horse and rotate on the left heel, turn the toe out. Again, this turning of the toe and ankle and knee come only from the hip here. This is nothing to do with these two joints as the ankle and knee down here. When I turn from the hip, opening the hip up here. Pinch the thigh together, high cross step. Sit down, half low cross, sit down, twisted stance. When I raise, come straight back up, rotate back on the ball of the right foot and the heel of the left, back to the center. Turn the right toe out, rotate. Slide the left ball of the foot up slightly to pinch the thighs together, and from a high cross stance to a medium sit stance to a sitting twisted stance. Chest up, back straight, head up, and as I rise from the crown of the head up, rotate back, and drop back down into my horse. And this becomes the twisted stances. I'll do this again. Twist, sink, stand, twist. My legs open back up again when I come back to horse. Twist, the left foot pulls in tight, the legs squeeze together, chest and back, nice and straight. Raise, up, and out, and back down to my horse. There is one more twisted type stance that goes even lower than our last one. This is called sitting twisted stance. In this one, we sit all the way through the twist, pinch the thighs together, high twist, medium, low sitting, drop onto the back foot and cross the legs completely so that I'm sitting down. Toes point out and the knees are stacked together. I push straight up from the crown of the head, turn to rotate, and I'm back into horse once again. I'm going to twist to the right this time. Nice and slow, turning the toe out, opening the hip here, pinching the top of the thighs here, coming up and shortening the stance with the ball of the left foot. Drop it down into the calf. Drop it down to sit on top of the Achilles tendon and the back of the left leg, dropping the foot and sitting all the way flat and pointing the toes. Knees are crossed. Stand by pushing up from the crown of the head, rotating back to repeat. If I stand in front, I'll cross, down, point the toes and stack the knees. Push up, step, cross, sit down, back straight up, cross legs, stand, step, and extended or seated twisting stance. Okay, and the last was twisted stance techniques. This one here is called 60-40 stance, and actually it's a variation of the horse stance. From heels, toes, heels, back to horse, sitting down. Turning one toe out to the left, I shift 60% of the weight back onto the right and make sure that this right foot is pointing straight forward. As I shift back, I also want to make sure that the hips tuck under so the back is nice and straight. And as I shift back here, this is called 60-40 stance, in that it sits 60% of the weight to the back leg. I turn the left toe in, turn the right toe out, and shift back into 60-40. and back again, horse, and shift back 60-40. And once more, back into the center, turn the toe out, shift back, and 60-40 stance. From here, slide back up, and this one is called 3 power stance. In 3 power stance, a very common stance in Xing Yi Chuan, fighting techniques in Tai Chi and Baguazhang, is basic fighting like stance. This 3 powered stance is going to go with the right toe turning out to the corner about 30, not more than 30 to 45 degrees, dropping about 60% of the weight back onto the right, and then simply stepping forward comfortably with the left. The left big toe is on line with the nose on the center line. The shin again is straight up and down. And the stance here is slightly turned in with the knee. The hip and heel are aligned in the back to form a triangle with the supporting right knee. So most of the weight sits back. It's very close to like a cat stance, but with the feet flat, and thus is a very common on-guard fighting stance. Turning my toe in, I turn my toe out, and I'm already sitting in the same stance on the other side with 60% back, 40 to the front, and the shin and ankle joint in a straight line. And this is my 3 power stance, or San Kai Bu. The next one here is 7 star stance. The 7 star stance also is much like a cat stance. I turn the toes out lightly to the corner. I drop back on the back leg, holds about 80 to 90% of the weight, and the heel steps forward, toes point up. And this is 7 star stance. And again, like a cat stance, but with the toe down, turns into 7 stars when the heel is placed forward. I drop the toe in, I shift back, and a 7 star stance on the opposite side. You also see that it's very close to the same as the 3 power stance and the cat stance. 7 stars all sit on this back leg with the back straight and chest upright, head straight. These are all based on the back leg bearing most of the weight. So 7 star stance, 60-40 stance, 3 power stance, and cat stance all share the back leg bears most of the weight. In our next one here, we're going to look at the closed horse stance, which is just simply the horse stance with the feet closed together, knees together, toes together, heels together, locked down, and in a closed position. Open horse is here, closed horse draws the feet together. Oftentimes this is a stomping movement with fist smashing or some other stomping technique where the feet come together as a closed horse. So same height as the horse stance, just bringing the legs closed together. And this is closed horse. Now we'll take a look at a light version of combining these stances together with some basic blocks and hand techniques, thus referred to as 11 stance fist. This is also performed on left and right sides, and when you do both sides, it turns into 22 stance fist, obviously. And so these are the 11 stances and some blocks, punch strike techniques that complement the form. This also gives you a stance training exercise.